Welcome back to This Tree and Me. Thank you for being here. I appreciate all my existing listeners and all the new listeners that are watching for the first time. I appreciate all of you. This work exists because you exist. I wouldn't be doing this podcast without your participation. I'm so grateful for it. Please, if you haven't already, please subscribe, share, get the word out. Let's keep this growing. Let's keep the conversation going. That's how we keep the lights on here. That's how we build awareness. That's how we build love within our heart and just sharing and helping each other. I appreciate you all so very much for being here. So today's conversation is learning how to recognize which voice inside us we are listening to. What is today about? What is the meaning of today? What does today's meaning have for me? What is the purpose of today? These are questions we ask ourselves often, right? That's not uncommon things that we ask ourselves, like, hey, what are we going to do today? What should I do today? What are my goals today? Things of that nature. The one thing that we probably don't think about enough of is where they come from and what meaning do they have. The same question can come from two different places inside of us. One of them wants the best for us. One of us wants the light. The other one is thinking and trying to protect us. Right? Don't go down that road. But the question's the same. It sounds productive. It sounds authentic. The answers, the messages, they can come from different sources. Sometimes the question is a true inquiry. It's your true self. It's you asking you, hey man, what do we want to do today? What is my purpose? What do I want to achieve today? And sometimes that question's resistance. And the work is, how do we differentiate? How do we know which is which? What voice is speaking to us? And we'll get into that. But reflection versus avoidance disguised as reflection. That's the key difference. Reflection versus the avoidance of that, built from disguises to it's trying to stumble through a word here for you, and I'm sorry and I apologize for that, but it has a mask and it puts it on and it says, hey, look at me, I'm reflection, I'm your true self, I want the best for you. And it's very hard at face value to know which is which, because most of us just react right away. Most of us just go straight into, oh, what do I want to do today? I want to go to the gym. I want to do this. I want to do that. And then when that time comes, oh, you know what? I'm going to do that later. Okay, we'll do that later. And then that later never comes. That's one key to realizing, well, is it me or is it my ego? The true self will give us a path, a vision, a calling to follow. The ego gives us doubts. Just like we said, oh, you know what? I'll go to the gym later. I got things I got to do before that, or I'll write later, or I'll do whatever the task is. It gives you doubts inside. You can do it later. You don't have to do it right now. Or, hey, that's not a good time for this right now. So it continuously asks you to doubt yourself. And the voice can sound the same. The words can be exactly identical. No difference between them. The questions, even sometimes the answers, can sound exactly the same. But the difference is where the message comes from. And learning to recognize that is the difference in this work. So inside us, there are two different voices. Both speak in our thoughts. Both ask questions. Both influence our decisions. They both have that capability, and they both can be doing it at the exact same time. You might have that repetitive voice, right? Where one feels a little different, possibly, if you really sit and listen to it. But at face value, maybe not. You just hear it a couple times like, that must be important. I've thought about that a couple times now, right? They do not come from the same place. And that's a big thing to distinguish. The true self has vision, direction, movement, clarity. It's something that when you receive that message, when you hear it, when you feel it, you just move. There's no second guessing. There's no inner conversation. It's done. You feel it, you know it, and you move on it. And right when you're about ready to move, that's when that resistance comes in. And we got to take that pause, because the true self will give us a path. It'll give us that vision to follow. It's there. It's right in front of you. And sometimes you even start taking that step to do it. And then here comes that resistance. Here comes that ego, doubt, hesitation, narratives, fear. I had a big fear moment that we'll probably talk about in my journaling with one of my parts. Actually, all of my parts. It was a big one. And it has to do with all of this. So I'll probably give you that as a good reflection moment and just to be a little vulnerable and share with you. Because it was a massive one. Excuse me. But the narratives is the one that I get a lot. The narratives of, look at them, they got lucky, or they don't deserve that, or I could do that, or whatever. That I get a lot of narratives as my ego. That's the resistance that I get. I don't get a whole lot of doubt. It might be mirrored as something else, or it might be disguised as something else, I guess. I get a lot of hesitation. I've always said I'm a procrastinator. I do my best work when I'm in a pinch. That was just an excuse to hesitate. That's all it was. That was just a story to make myself believe, hey, you don't have to do that right now. You can wait. You're a procrastinator. You do better when you have a crunch, when you're at a deadline. Can't tell you how many projects, how many school, work, all those things where I would wait until the absolute last minute. Not sleep, get through it, knock it out. And yeah, it was probably decent. But is it as good as if I would have refined it over time and just did a little bit every day, constantly, and just followed the path that was in front of me? Probably not. The ego just gives us constant resistance and doubts to do things. The voice, it can sound so identical. It's amazing how similar it sounds and feels, how the ego can disguise it to make you feel like this is your true self talking to you, saying, hey man, this is what we need to do, but you know what? It can wait. But it'll ask those questions first. It'll get you thinking. It'll be sneaky and come in on you and say, hey, you know what do we want to do today? What are your goals today? And then all of a sudden you start talking about them and things like that. And then all of a sudden there comes that resistance. The words can be exactly the same. To the period. Exactly the same. Because it wants you to think that it is yourself talking to you. It wants you to believe that this is something coming from a good place inside. But the difference is the source of it. Should I do this? True self-seeking clarity? Ego trying to delay action. The should. Should I do this? Or I'm going to do this. Feel the difference? And sometimes your true self will say, should I do this? It's a legitimate question. So the wording of it, you have to be cognizant of. You have to really catch it. But there's more to it. The ego often asks questions, the slow movement. It'll keep asking questions. It'll keep trying to just drag a little bit more out of you. Hey, let's keep talking about it. Because then once you talk about it more, all of a sudden, right, squirrel, something else is going to come up and you're going to go chase it. Just keep talking. Let's keep them talking. Action is the true self. Like I said, you'll hear it, you'll do it. That's when you know it's right. When there's no inner dialogue. When there's no more questioning. When there's no more asking of, hey, are you sure? What if this happens? What if that happens? Once you start that dialogue, it's over. That's the ego. And it's got you right there. The true self asks clarity. Asks questions for clarity and direction. When we do this, what should it look like? When we do this, what should it look like? When we get to this point, when we get there, how should we react? That's giving you a directional thinking. Hey, we're getting there. So visualize once I'm there, how do I want it to look? How do I want to act? Compared to, hey, if we get there today, do you think we'll be okay? How do you want to act when you get there? If then you'll start talking, hey, we haven't got there yet. I just wanted to ask the question. It doesn't want you to actually visualize you being in that situation. It wants you to stay trapped in his stories or her stories, whatever your ego is. The question itself isn't the problem. The question is only the messenger, right? We always hear, don't kill the messenger. And you shouldn't, neither one of them. They both need to be heard because it's very important. There's reasons for it, and we'll get into all that. The real work is learning to recognize which voice sent it. And there's definite ways to get to that point. And like I was saying earlier, the fear one was a big one. And I'm going to share that with you. I'm making a mental note. We're not at that time yet here, but I want to share that with you because it was massive. It was hard, but little by little, all the work that I've done, listening, allowing and following and getting this trust and getting these conversations built that we've talked about previously, got me to this point, allowed me to sit there through it. Many people believe growth has a destination, a place where the ego disappears, where doubt stops, where alignment becomes permanent, right? We all want to believe, I know I did at one time, that growth means it's over. That if I grow to an enlightened stage, right? If I work on my emotional stability and I grow in it, I will reach a point to where I don't have any of that anymore. Sound like a story? Sound like it's too good to be true? We talk cliches on here a lot, don't we? If it sounds too good to be true, it is. If it sounds like a story, it is. Who tells stories? Does your true self tell stories, or does your ego tell stories? It's obviously the ego. There is no destination where it all stops. You can pause it. You can learn how to slow it down, you have the ability to work with it much better to where you can manage it and lead it, never disappears. Ever. You will always have hesitation. You will always have doubt. You will always have whatever your ego knows works with for you to stop. So he can lead and guide you and not the other way around. So the expectation is perfect clarity, permanent peace, effortless decision making. That one gets me. A life without internal conflict. That's the expectation when you have the belief that you can end this. Running from it. Last week's podcast episode about survival, surviving through it, rushing through it, not letting it hunt you down, never stopping, is not peace. It's not clarity. But that's the expectation. We all want to believe that that can happen. We all want to believe that we have that ability within us, that we're stronger than our ego. And that's a catch-22. It's not about being stronger. It's about understanding, learning how to work with it, believing that you can coexist, and making a space to where that can happen. It's not about winning or losing. You get in the win and loss, the ego's already got you. There's not an end point. There just simply is not an end point. And there's definitely not a finish line. If you remember from last week, and if you haven't watched last week's survival, it's an important one as well and all this. What's the only finish line? Death. It's the only finish line in life. Until then, you are constantly growing. You are constantly working. You are constantly building yourself to be whatever the best version of you can be. No judgment, no rules, no endpoint. It's what the ego wants you to believe. Hey, if you just do this one more thing, you'll get the reward. Oh man, you didn't get it. You know what? Piss on them. They don't know you well enough. They're knuckleheads. What do they know? There's always going to be an excuse. There's always going to be resistance. There's always going to be doubt. There's no endpoint. It's just doing the work. The ego doesn't only create doubt, though. It also creates idealized states. That dream state. That if I just do this, I'll get there. If I just caught a break, I would get there. A great example of how this doesn't work if you're not ready for the reward. If you haven't put in the work, the discipline that it takes to do the hard things when nobody's watching. So when you do get flooded with it, you're ready for it because you're well off inside. You know how to lead yourself. How many times have we heard about people who win the lottery and then end up worse off than they were? Broke again, family crushed because of money, things like that. Because they were given a shortcut. We've talked about that as well. But if you live in that dream of if only, man, if my family had money, oh, I'd be doing great things. You don't know that. Man, if I would just get that raise at work, I could do this, this, and this. I'd save up and I'd have that bigger house. You don't know that. There's only one thing to get to all that. Doing the work. Because then when you get it, you're ready for it. And you'll get it because you've earned it. You get the things in life that you are ready for when you're ready for them. Another cliche that's in there, right? The the ego also wants to tell you stories of what life will look like when everything is fixed. Fixed is not going to happen. Growth, alignment, leadership, words of that nature, you can absolutely have those things over your life. Control, you can have control over your own life. You have to do the work, but you can absolutely have control over your life. But the ego wants to tell you, if you just did this, you would be fixed. If this didn't happen to you, man, would you be this? If that event never happened, you would be on top of the world. It makes you believe this. It did it to me for a long time, man. If that would never have happened to you. And this is something that I had buried, that I was not in my mind until I started doing this work. And then it came back as like, okay, I get that now. But it kept me in that cycle of, man, entitlement. You deserve things handed to you because of what happened in your past life. It's not true. No matter how horrific, no matter what the trauma, no matter what happened to you in your past life, nothing is deserved. Nothing is given. Unfortunately, you have to do the work. It just is what it is. If you want that life, you have to do the work. Or you stay in that ego loop. But the belief that there is a place of rest is the ego. You never rest. Once you rest on the work, once you pause, the ego has you. Now, we talked about not resting and not pausing, and that's survival, right? And I'm telling you, don't pause, don't rest. Different aspect in this one. You can't stop the work. You can't stop working on yourself, right? Chasing dreams in a egocentric style, letting the ego lead you, pushing through pain, pushing through fear, never dealing with it. That's survival. Eventually that survival is going to catch up to you. Daily work, working on yourself, dealing with the pain, dealing with whatever's going on inside you, understanding that it's not going away and you can't rest on it. You cannot allow the ego to lead you. That's a different rest. That's a different, hey, I got to keep doing this. Because now the work's internal, not external. External things will come. It's got to start in here. The ego can speak through fear, though. It can also speak through perfection. We've talked about that like last week in the survival. How many absolutely what you want to classify as successful people do you know that have the house, the car, the job, the money, the career, the business, whatever it is, and it looks perfect? But if you get behind the scenes, maybe not so much. They're still human beings. They've just learned how they get through fear. The ego has ran their life for that, and they pushed through it. They found a way to survive it. But both are narratives. Because some people in that same exact state can shrink, can go the other way. Instead of running and surviving, they think living in a mediocre style, staying behind the scenes, not stepping out and chasing and pursuing. It's the opposite. It's still ego driven. It's still a narrative. And they could have came from the exact same place in life as far as the ego leading them. It's all how you work. I did a little bit of both. There was times in my life that I chased and survived, and I proved what I could do. There was other times I became bitter and angry and didn't do anything but complain and think I was entitled and try to control everything in my life. It was all ego, both sides. And now that I'm doing the work, now that I've got to a place to where I understand my internal parts and I'm working every day on it and I'm learning more and more and more every single day, I'm telling you, it doesn't disappear. You just start to learn how to understand it and how to talk to it, how to work together with it. It gives you answers. The doubt never vanishes. And the work will give you all the recognition that you need. So here's a perfect time to tell my story about the fear that came up in me and what it finally told me. So every morning, as we've talked about, I meditate. Multiple different little things, but during the second meditation that I do, my parts were loud. Not one, not two, all of them. So really quick, I've got little Cory. That's the kid before all the nonsense happened. The poet, he's the one that got formed from the nonsense, right? He went through 2 hardships in life, right? He's the creative, the poet. There's Rigo, the guy who came after him, who just wanted to fit in. He's my emotional being. He just wants to be a part of whatever group is around. Then there's Big Daddy, the dad, the father, the husband, the adult, the survival guy, the controller. And then there's Coach, which a lot of you, right, may know. But this is a different version of Coach than some of you know. But there's Coach, who after divorce, after the kids were gone and life slowed down, he started really running my life. And then at some point he started coaching me. And now there's me, Cory J Riggs. Okay. So that's all the parts. And I'm pretty sure I've met all of them. If another one comes up, I'll be shocked. Done a lot of work to get to this point. And they all have there's protectors in front of them, right? The biggest one is the addict. And he shows up in many different forms. So anyhow, so I'm journaling. I'm meditating, and it's just loud. And I feel it from all the different parts. Like I'm trying to just pick one, and then this one will stop, and then all of a sudden it comes from over here. And then also I'm like, okay, what's going on? And then this one shows up. So I finally get to a point to where I'm like, all right, take a breath, man. What is it? All of you. I'm here. I am not leaving. I am here for you. I am here with you. And I'm not going away until we get to the bottom of this. I'm going to sit here as long as it takes, and I'm going to be in this deep meditation as much as I can until we get to this. And then as loud as could be, it just a feeling inside of me, fear. Y'all, I was hot. Even after I was done and I was journaling, I wrote about it. I was sweaty. Like, it was intense. It was real. Because I sat with it. I listened to it. And I said, speak. Tell me what's up. I'm not judging. I just want to hear this. Parts, all of this. One of the protectors, it was like a scene out of the exorcism in there. It was that intense because I was sitting with it. I wasn't allowing it to guide me. I wasn't allowing it to let me run from it. Because normally I would have got up and did something else and right in the past. But I've been teaching myself how to sit with it until I get my answer. And some days I don't. Some days I'm like, okay, we just have to, okay, we got to a good place. It is what it is. We'll be here again. So fear. Okay. Thank you. Of what? What are we afraid of? Failing. What if, you know, why you? Why are you chosen? Why is God and your true self giving you this path to walk? Why you? So I took a breath and I was like, okay. Because, I've heard the ego say this before. Fair. What if my book's a flop? What if no one buys it? Except my mom. I'm a mama's boy. I don't care. Y'all can say what you want. Love my mama. What if my podcast never gets to where I want it to go? What if all the dreams of business and the things that I have that I'm working for right now never come to fruition? Have you not failed before and you're still living? I was in meditation asking my parts this and everything just started slowing down. Took a breath. Like, yeah. Can we not learn from it? Can we not pivot? Okay, so maybe that wasn't the book to write. Maybe it's a different one. Or hey, maybe your podcast needs to turn another direction. And I promise you, this has turned many directions in where my messaging has gone. The LAF Method wasn't my first thought process in all this. Probably about my third or fourth that it finally came to. I've developed more within that. We're going to get to the 7 steps of it. So I start writing and I'm just trying to write so fast to get this all out of me, right? Just talk about it. It was real. But because I allowed myself to sit there through the pain, through the fear, through the noise in my head, and listened, got the message, allowed again. All right. Speak to me. What are we scared of? This is a safe place. Here we go. Did you see? I didn't get mad. Let's go. What's up? What are we afraid of? Listened again. Found a path, which eventually came to, this isn't about you. And that's a lot of my old ego. My old past was everything had to be about me. What I got out of it. I helped them get to that point. I did it. And as I was writing, I'm like, it's not about me. It's not about me doing the work for them. It's not about any of that. It's about me simply being a guide for people and helping them see within themselves what has existed their entire life. It's about service. It's not about me. And it was just awesome. It wasn't easy, but by listening, allowing, and following, we took another step during that meditation, during that journal session. And that's one of many. And there's other times where I don't get to that point. It's not perfect. It takes commitment. It takes consistency. It takes daily effort. And that's where it comes into alignment. And alignment is not something we achieve. It's something we practice. Not once, not twice, not occasionally, consistently. Can't say that enough. But it's not an achievement. It's not a destination. It's not an endpoint. It's not a win or a loss. It's just work. It's just the method of it all, the process of it all. And it's being consistent to it, having faith in it, letting it prove that it works. The practice is, how to say it? Who do we allow ourselves to listen to? That's the practice. Because both voices are always going to be there. And definitely one, we always want to be there, right? We want that true self to talk to us. But the ego's going to be there too, y'all. It's not going anywhere. And the practice is finding which voice is saying what. And if it's the ego, okay, get it out. Let's get this out, because we're not getting beyond it until we understand it and heal it. Just like a kid, just think of it like that. If you've been around kids at all, or, you might have friends this way if you don't have kids, things like that. They just have to get it out of them sometimes. Let them scream, kick, whatever. But you teach them and you guide them and you lead them. And eventually those moments become to where it becomes a discussion much quicker and easier because of the work. The work's awareness. It's discernment. Intention. Big intention. I have the same intention every day. Every single day. And I'm going to share it with you. I have no problem with this, because again, this is about service. This is about helping any way that I possibly can. And during one-on-one meditations, I bring in a higher power. I bring in my true self. I bring in Mother Earth to be grounding and strength and support. I bring it all in, surrender to them, and just simply ask. Every day, I surrender to them. Give it up every day. And then I ask, give me the strength and courage to follow this path. And as I follow this path and walk this earth, please give me more love, grace, and compassion in my heart for myself and others. That is my daily intention. And I repeat that multiple times. It's important to have intention in life, right? And try not to have self-serving. It's hard, right? And that line is borderline, because some people say that working on yourself or giving this much attention to yourself and this and that is selfish. And I think it's quite the opposite. I think it's the most selfless act you can have. Because if I can't be good for myself, and if I can't take care of myself, and if I can't simply love myself, how can I do it for others? I can't. It just doesn't work that way. And you got to choose which voice leads. It's a choice. It's a choice that you have to find within you on how you make it. When the two voices appear and they both present messages and they're both attempting to guide the action, there's recognition in that moment. There's a way to find that recognition. And the method of listen, allow, follow, the LAF method, is something that I've worked on and developed, and it works very well. It works internally for me. It works externally for me, but it all starts from within. It all starts from a place of healing inside, Once you get that inside, then you take it out. And there's recognition in it. And I just gave you a great example of the one journaling morning with the fear and all my parts that were just throwing a fit. So, and listen, you notice the voice. You notice the emotional tone. You notice the narrative that's attached to it. And then you work on recognizing who's speaking. And that comes through a lot of conversation. That comes through a lot of back and forth. But you listen. You ask the questions and you listen. You ask the questions and you listen. They'll eventually come and tell you what's going on. But you have to listen to your body. You have to listen to that voice inside. You have to listen to that tone, that pain. Where's it coming from? You can actually, if it's coming in your heart, touch your heart and feel it. Okay, what's going on? It's in your belly, touch your belly, right? Some people have, head, hands. Doesn't matter. Wherever you're feeling it, go find it. Then once you find that, you allow it. You don't fight. You don't fight that voice. You don't fight that pain. You don't suppress the message. You allow that message to be told as it needs to be told, no matter how much it hurts and stings. You let all voices appear. Your true self, your ego, if you have multiple parts, right? The people that work with me, it's very rare that there's just one part within inside of you, depending on your age, but it's very rare that there's only one part that's feeding that ego from different versions of you, of your life. And you observe without judgment. You create a space that is open door policy, right? I guess that's one way to say it. A true open door policy. Space, come talk, say whatever is on your mind. I will listen. May not like it. I may have to take a couple breaths, but I'll listen. And once you go through all of that, and there's a lot of back and forth, and there's a lot of intertwining between listen and allow and the follow, you just simply start following what you feel is right. It's not what you're being told is right. It's not the story and the inner dialogue going back and forth. Well, what if this? No, you follow what you feel is right. That's what you know is right. And if it causes more resistance, if it's very strong in you, just like the fear one that I just talked about, it's the right path to go down. I know I'm doing the right thing. I know I'm chasing what I believe. Regardless if it ever works, I know that doing what I'm doing right now is what I'm supposed to be doing, what I'm meant to be doing. Because it's good for me. I feel good. I'm getting a better understanding of myself. I'm healing. I'm growing. And I'm trying my best to help others. I'm trying my best to be a good person. I know I'm doing what's right for me. Regardless of where it goes, I just know it. I have faith in it because I feel it and I'm just doing it. I'm walking. I don't follow the inner dialogue about it. I don't follow the fear like the other day in the meditation. Just don't. I listen to it. Come to an understanding. Come to a resolution. And I follow. Without any explanation. Without any justification. That guidance, it often arrives quietly. Again, you just start doing. It's not a dialogue. But there's no stories, no justification. Again, no inner dialogue. The mind often demands an explanation. The ego wants you to have that, explain to me why that's so good. I'll explain to you why it's not. I've talked about it before in other episodes, how I find myself sometimes I'll be like, who are you talking to, man? Literally, who are you talking to? You're in a room by yourself. You've probably heard my dog being a knucklehead during this. Who am I talking to? It's just me and him. I'm all alone and I'm having a full-on conversation about something at work or something in my personal life. Building this whole story of why, what, when, where, and all this. It's amazing. When you're following your true path, you don't have that dialogue. You just go do it. And that true alignment, it often comes without that narrative. It more often than not, you won't have a narrative to it. You'll just do it. You don't convince yourself. You don't argue with yourself. You simply move. I just move. That's all I do. And when I don't just move, I know it's the ego. It's once you start doing the work, once you start following the practice, you recognize it that quick. Now, not always do you hesitate. Not always do I do the right thing. But the recognition's coming. I want to reemphasize the ego does not disappear. And doubt never vanishes. And that voice will never, ever go silent. Ever. And when you start recognizing it, and you start having that awareness, and you start getting discernment in the knowledge of what voice is speaking to you, that's the ability to hear the difference. When you start getting those things, it flows within you. The practice is, who do we allow ourselves to listen to? I want you to reflect on that question. I asked it before, made the statement before, if you will. But I want you to reflect on that. I want you to journal on that maybe. I would love to hear your journal entries. You know, you don't have to divulge anything you don't want to, but I'd love to hear what you got out of it. Sit with yourself on that one. Who do we allow ourselves to listen to? Pick a moment. At the end of the day, I used to do this a lot at the end of the day, and now I do it in the mornings. It's just kind of worked out that way. But in the end of the day, I'd start writing about my day, and I'd just start recognizing, why would I do that? Why did I say that? Why did that happen? But the real work is listening without judgment, allowing both voices, all of them, however many there are, to appear. Recognize who is speaking. Is it the ego? Is it myself? And then choosing which voice leads you. And a journal line was that I really like, that this is a practice that requires alignment, focus, and intention. That's a direct line from that day of that journaling. Because if I didn't have alignment to what my goals are, alignment to what I wanted out of myself in my life, the focus to do that every day and be disciplined and stubborn about it. Because there's days I don't want to do the work sometimes. And then I have that intention that I shared with you earlier, but the intention to build my life from that. This is a practice that requires alignment, focus, and intention. Not once, not occasionally, consistently. And there's no end point and there is no finish line. You don't reach a place where the ego stops speaking. You reach a place where you recognize the voice. And that is an absolutely massive difference. taking the time to recognize it. And you simply start following it. No stories, no justification, no internal debate, just pure movement. What's my next step? Here I go. Which voice will you follow? Because the question isn't whether the voice will speak. The question is, which voice will you follow? Thank you so much again for being here. I really appreciate it. And just a reminder that this has been This Tree in Me, and I am Cory J Riggs. And today's episode, When Ego Sounds Like Truth. And if this conversation resonated with you in any way, please take the time to subscribe, share, get the message out. It helps me. It helps me understand what resonates with people. Once I start getting the feedback and the comments, and we can grow this together, because the conversation is the only way we grow. This is not a singular job. This is all of us helping each other. Keep walking the straight line, right? Keep walking the path that's in front of you. And as we do this, we grow together. That's the work. And your support truly, truly, truly means the world to me, and it keeps these conversations going. I appreciate you all. I'm Cory J Riggs. I love you all. Be blessed.